Having an eating disorder is hard, but struggling with anorexia, binge eating, and body dysmorphia during lockdown, that's even harder. With food temptations everywhere, constant parental control or lack thereof, and no way to prevent body checking, how can you ensure that this lockdown is treatment conducive rather than relapse causing? That is what I'll be talking about today. Hi warriors, and welcome back to another video. As you heard, today we're going to be talking about how to deal with an eating disorder during this crazy isolation period. If you like this video and found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I also checked my analytics and over half of you viewers aren't subscribed to this channel, so if you're one of them, be sure to subscribe and share the love. Anyway, let's get started. Food temptations. This may be problematic, especially for people with binge eating disorder, but it's also a really crucial topic for people with anorexia or more restrictive type eating, especially with less external activities and things to keep you occupied. The temptation to binge or think about food 24/7 is real. One way to deal with this is by staying active and busy, and I've already posted several videos and several tips about that. So if you haven't seen them, check them out. Another way to deal with this is to write down your thoughts and worries. So one way to do this is to have a 15-minute worry time every day during which you put down everything that's in your head on paper. Try to ignore the thoughts during the remainder of the day and just dedicate this time. Personally, I tried to do this for a little while and I found it really quite challenging to restrict myself to this time period. However, if I'd done it over a longer period of time, I think it's something that could definitely have worked. Certainly I felt that if I wrote things down, and even now when I write things down, that's really therapeutic and it prevents my mind and my thoughts from being so cluttered all the time. So this is definitely something that I recommend you try if you haven't already. Alternatively, you can also talk to a parent, a friend, or therapist online. This can be really cathartic. Specifically, if you're plagued with food-related thoughts 24/7, maybe this is because you're not eating enough. Acknowledge that your body is screaming for more fuel, and you may need to increase your intake. Even if you do not feel physically hungry, your mind is a very powerful tool. It knows what your body needs, so all you need to do is listen to it. As I've talked about before, these cues and your cravings change over time, but only if you listen to them. Make sure your cupboards are stocked and that you allow yourself to eat. Note, specifically if you're struggling with binge eating, learn your triggers. Even now, it's equally important to keep your cupboards stocked, as you don't want to be going to the shops all too frequently or being in contact with people all too frequently. But maybe avoid your biggest triggers at the moment. As the present is already very anxiety-inducing and it's challenging enough. So if you associate your binges with a certain food, maybe avoid facing this one for now. Also, if you associate it with the foods you keep in a certain cupboard, then maybe put a little sticky note there for yourself. One of my friends used this approach and she said that if she was on the verge of having a binge, she opened her cupboard and saw the sticky note. That in itself was enough to stop the binge. So it's definitely something you might want to give a try. Moving on to the next topic that I've got a lot of questions about. Parental control. If you are stuck inside with your parents, you might feel extra restricted and you might feel like there's extra control. Yep, this is difficult. During my recovery, I was constantly at home with my mum, so it was a similar problem. It definitely did drive me mad sometimes, and I think some fights are probably inevitable. However, be sure to communicate, talk about your struggles and your triggers, and if you do have a fight, explain why you got angry and how to deal with the situation in the future, what you would have liked her or your dad to do in the situation. So really let your voice be heard. It's important for them to understand you, but also for you to understand their viewpoint. So do listen to what they have to say as well. Communication is key, and in the end, you both have the same goal: recovery. Whilst it's challenging, see the control as a positive feat. Uncomfortable initially, it will help you reach your goals. So keep going. Alternatively, if you're isolating alone, hold yourself accountable. Talk positively to yourself and don't fall back into old habits, because especially at this time, that is all too easy. Know that in the long run, that is not going to help you. So if focusing on your recovery means that for now you have to revert back to using a meal plan, even though you haven't in a while, then do this. Opting for a meal plan again is much better than trying to hold yourself together and relapsing completely. So collaborate with your family, with your therapist, whoever you've got as your support team, and come up with a meal plan. Stick to it, hold yourself accountable, and remember why you want to recover. Lastly, I want to really briefly talk about body checking, because that's something I struggled with a lot, especially during times where I was at home or where I wasn't quite so busy. A time like this, really. The first thing that I want to share is that body checking is super counterproductive. Whatever reason you do it for, it is negatively reinforcing. So you keep body checking, but you never really get from it what you're seeking. So if it's checking your weight every day or any other behaviors, then maybe get your parents or your housemates to take away the scales, or anything else that might be helpful in preventing the behavior. So discuss your biggest triggers and help them help you prevent the behavior. If at any time you feel particularly vulnerable, then talk to them. If you feel unable to do so, then contact an external helpline. There's so much help available, and I'm going to do a little search and link some of them below for you guys, because I think this is really important. Remember that so much help is available to you, even at this time, and the important thing is that you are open to accept this help. Granted, the current climate is a strange one. Everyone is struggling and forced to face their own demons. This is difficult as hell. However, we're all in the same boat. We will all get through this. Try to focus on your goals and motivations, and remind yourself of your accomplishments and where you've come from and why you can be so proud of yourself. As long as you know what you're fighting for, I have all the confidence in the world that you will get there. So keep fighting, warriors, because I know you can get there.